Imagine a world where enterprise-grade software isn't built in months, but literally in hours. Now, take it a step further. Imagine that in this world, writing the actual code is no longer the hardest part of the job. That is exactly what AI visionary Andrej Karpathy accidentally revealed when he casually declared that the era of vibe coding is, well, already dead. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're dissecting a massive structural shift in how software gets built. We're going to look at why the most critical skill in the AI era isn't typing syntax anymore. It's deciding what to build in the first place.
If AI can build almost anything you ask it to, what becomes the bottleneck? I mean, what actually slows us down when execution speed is virtually infinite? For decades, the physical, manual act of engineering was our primary constraint. But as we step into this new paradigm, we have to look analytically at what happens when that constraint just entirely collapses. At Sequoia Capital's AI Ascent event, Karpathy shared a personal insight that honestly should stop every technology leader in their tracks. He was talking about December 2025 as a major inflection point. He said he was using the latest models with some agentic tooling, asking for bigger and bigger chunks of code, and then he dropped this line: "I can't remember the last time I corrected the model." Look, that is a staggering admission from the guy who literally ran AI at Tesla. It's a massive signal that professional code writing has irreversibly changed. Now, when you hear that, you might immediately think of vibe coding. Let's define that really quickly. Vibe coding is basically when you prompt an AI to generate some code. You accept whatever it spits out, and you just kind of tweak it until it runs locally. Tools like Claude Code and Cursor have absolutely democratized software creation using this exact approach. And it's fantastic, right? For a fast prototype or a weekend MVP, it's magic. But it breaks down incredibly painfully in production. It raises the floor so anyone can code, but it totally ignores the ceiling. It just doesn't have the context about your existing code base, your design patterns, or your enterprise constraints. And this hits right at the core of a problem that very few people saw coming. As product strategy expert Jeff Galthelf pointed out so brilliantly, when building becomes easy, deciding what to build becomes the hard part. Infinite speed without clear direction, that's not progress. That's just accelerated uncertainty. Think about it. If an AI lets you build 100 features a day, but they completely miss the mark for the user, you aren't innovating. You're just scaling your technical debt and feature bloat at the speed of light. Okay, so if vibe coding isn't the answer for building serious enterprise-grade software, what is? Well, enter Agentic Engineering. This is basically Karpathy's grown-up successor to vibe coding. It helps to look at the stark contrast between these two paradigms. Vibe coding is all about fast prototyping, single chat interactions, and, like we said, raising the floor. The accountability is implicit. But agentic engineering, that's a whole different ballgame. It requires multi-agent orchestration, deep system context, strict guardrails, and structured delivery. It preserves that high ceiling. You aren't just reacting to what an AI spits out anymore. You're setting the quality bar, defining the goals, and deeply guiding the entire workflow. So what does agentic engineering actually look like in practice? Well, when you map its core activities directly over to traditional product management tasks, the alignment is kind of mind-blowing. Writing specs for the AI? That's drafting product requirement documents. Supervising the agent's plans? That's managing roadmaps and stakeholder alignment. Inspecting diffs? You're basically doing user acceptance testing. And building evaluation loops? That maps perfectly to defining KPIs and validating your business outcomes. I challenge you to really look at that overlap. Ask yourself, does that sound like traditional manual software engineering? Or does it sound a whole lot like product management? The structural tasks of managing an AI developer, figuring out the why, checking the boundaries, and holding the quality line against the immense pressure to just ship, those are the exact same muscles used in seasoned product management. We are literally living through what we can call the great inversion. Historically, the execution phase, actually sitting down and writing the code, was the most expensive, most time-consuming part of bringing a product to market. But as the marginal cost of code generation rapidly drops towards zero, execution is becoming incredibly cheap. The real value is flipping completely. For decades, our operating model was super straightforward, right? Product managers defined what to build, and engineers built it. But the new reality has inverted that relationship. AI builds the solution now, and humans, we increasingly focus on defining the problem. Typing out code is being replaced by deciding what code should exist in the first place, and that aggressively elevates the value of problem framing, deep customer understanding, and strategic trade-offs.
This structural shift creates a totally new product management flywheel. It all starts with deep customer understanding, which directly feeds into precise problem definition. Then the AI steps in and rapidly builds the solution. From there, you run evaluation loops, you gather your learnings, and you feed all of that right back into your initial understanding. Because AI accelerates that middle step of building so drastically, this continuous loop of validation becomes your ultimate competitive advantage. Cycle time isn't about code velocity anymore. It is entirely about learning velocity. Now, hold on a second. Before we get totally swept up in the AI hype, we need to ground ourselves and look at what AI still absolutely cannot do. Because the algorithm isn't magic, and understanding its stark limits is exactly where your professional leverage is hiding. There are irreducible human elements that algorithms simply can't replicate. Take true customer empathy. An AI cannot actually feel the deep frustration of one of your users. Or organizational alignment. An agent isn't going to navigate your company's complex office politics or negotiate budget constraints with enterprise stakeholders. Strategic opportunity selection, navigating complex trade-offs, and establishing ethical guardrails. Those remain deeply, stubbornly human tasks, and these are the skills that remain highly defensible in your career. Karpathy actually anchored this limitation perfectly. He warned that models are just statistical simulation circuits. They aren't animal intelligences. In his words, they are ghosts. They don't have intrinsic motivation. They have no embodied common sense. You can't just yell at an AI and expect it to care more or work harder. You can outsource the typing to these statistical circuits, absolutely, but you cannot outsource the understanding of why the work matters. Now, it is absolutely crucial that we acknowledge the pushback here. We need to steelman the contrarian view, especially from the developer community. Because if you spend any time on forums like Hacker News, you will see senior software engineers pushing back hard on the idea that agentic engineering is just product management in disguise. The debate really boils down to this single question. Is agentic engineering really just product management? We have to address this head on, because those engineers have a very valid, grounded perspective that deeply respects analytical rigor. There are deeply technical realities that remain uniquely in the realm of software engineering. We're talking about core system architecture, long-term reliability, sniffing out zero-day security vulnerabilities, and handling massive scalability. Catching a subtle flaw in a complex distributed system requires profound technical judgment. An AI might act like a tireless junior developer, but a senior engineer is absolutely still required to design the overarching system and prevent a catastrophic architectural failure. And this perfectly illustrates what Karpathy calls the jagged frontier of AI intelligence. He uses this brilliant, kind of mind-bending example. A state-of-the-art model like Opus 4.7 can flawlessly refactor a 100,000-line codebase. It can find incredibly deep zero-day vulnerabilities. But then, in the very next breath, it might ridiculously suggest that a user walk 50 meters to a car wash instead of, actually driving their car there. It just completely misses basic embodied common sense. These models are jagged. They peak incredibly high in areas with heavy reinforcement learning, and they absolutely crash in areas where they lack a verifier. You have to stay in the loop to catch the absurdities. So, if the lines between deep engineering judgment and product direction are blurring this much, how does the PM role fundamentally evolve from here? Well, the crucial takeaway is this. The AI revolution is not making product management irrelevant, not even close. It is actually forcing product management back to its original purpose. AI is stripping away all the administrative bloat, it's removing all the places left to hide, and it's finally revealing the true strategic core of the discipline. But here is the hard truth. The purely administrative work of PMs, that's dead. If your job right now consists primarily of acting as a document manager, rating granular JIRA tickets, endless backlog grooming, and just formatting PRDs, you are highly vulnerable. Conversational AI engines generate that kind of scaffolding instantly. PMs have to upscale to become outcome architects. Like Jeff Gottlieb warned, if you've spent years doing the clerical version of product work, the part that just became wildly valuable is the exact part you might have allowed to atrophy. Because managing uncertainty is the most valuable thing left to manage. When the cost of software creation is effectively zero, deciding exactly what to build isn't just a part of the job, it's everything. So ask yourself, as AI takes over the keyboard, are you preparing your teams to just prompt the agents, or are you ready to actually direct the future?